All right, let's get right into it. Today we're going to talk about something that might just flip everything you've been taught about money on its head. It's like a whole new physics of how wealth is actually created. So let's start with a question that I bet has crossed your mind more than once. You see people out there, right? They're grinding, putting in 60-hour weeks year after year, and yet they're just stuck. They're struggling, never really getting ahead. But then on the flip side, you've got these other people and they just seem to have cracked some kind of secret code. They seem to work less, they're definitely stressing less, and somehow they have everything figured out financially. So what is going on? What's their secret? Okay, so the go-to answers are always, oh, they just got lucky, or they knew the right people, or maybe they're just a genius. And yeah, it's easy to think that, but what if those are just convenient excuses? What if the real reason is something totally different, something that, and this is the key part anyone can learn? Well, according to the thinking we're diving into today, the answer isn't luck and it isn't genius. It's one single thing, a core principle. It's a fundamental shift in how you see the world that honestly, most people just never make. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now. All right, so to understand the solution, we've got to start with the root of the problem, and it all begins with this simple but totally broken equation about money. It's something we were all taught growing up, and honestly, it's the lie that keeps so many people trapped. And here it is. This should look pretty familiar, right? This is the formula for life. We were all sold, go to school, get good grades, land a stable job, and boom, collect your salary. The idea was that your hard work gets rewarded with that steady paycheck, and that paycheck is your golden ticket to wealth. That was the promise. Anyway, and this is the really uncomfortable truth, that whole equation, it's completely broken. A salary is not wealth. In fact, for a lot of people, chasing that bigger salary is the very thing that stops them from ever building real lasting wealth. Let's look at some proof, because I know that sounds crazy. And here's the proof in the pudding. Get this. Studies show that 1 in 10 people earning over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. Just let that sink in. This is undeniable proof that a high income does not automatically equal financial freedom. The whole equation is just wrong. So the big question is, why do so many of us stay stuck in this broken system? Well, a lot of it comes down to something called the Ostrich Effect. You know that feeling of dread, like when you kind of don't want to check your bank account after a big weekend. That's it. We actively avoid looking at the negative financial info because, hey, it's uncomfortable. But here's the catch. You can't escape a prison if you refuse to even admit you're in one. Okay, so if that old model is totally busted, what's the new one? Well, this is where things get really interesting. This is the big paradigm shift. We have to completely rethink and redefine what money actually is. Once you do that, you can build a whole new foundation for creating wealth. So here it is, the new definition. Money isn't something you get in exchange for your time. Gnome Dart money is simply an expression of value the market, and that can be your customers, your boss, your community, whatever the market pays you based on the perceived value you bring to it. It's a direct reflection. Let's look at a simple example to make this super clear. Think about a cleaner. They work incredibly hard, right? Physically demanding job, but that role is, well, it's easily replaceable. Now think about an accountant who figures out a way to save that same company $50,000. That skill is much harder to replace, and that's the key takeaway. The market doesn't just reward hard work, it rewards value that is difficult or rare to replace. And this leads to some advice that feels kind of backwards at first, but it's so powerful. It's this: stop chasing money seriously. Instead, start chasing problems. Think about it. Every huge business, every game-changing innovation, it all started as a solution to some big, annoying frustration people had. If you can find a big enough problem and solve it for people, trust me, the market will reward you. Okay, so even if you've got this new mindset down, there are still these invisible traps. It's like walking through a minefield. The source material we're looking at calls them the 7 wealth killers. You can think of them as these hidden roadblocks just waiting to sabotage you on your way to financial freedom. And here's the whole list. We're going to dive into a couple of these in more detail, but they cover a lot of ground from working just for the paycheck instead of for skills, to falling into the luxury trap, to that classic mistake of trying to do everything yourself, all the way to letting your own ego trip you up. Okay, let's zoom in on number 2, the luxury trap. Man, this one is huge today, especially with social media. Everywhere that fancy car, the designer clothes, those are liabilities. They start losing value the second you get them assets. On the other hand, they're the things that grow in value, or even better, put money in your pocket while you sleep. The rule here is so simple but so hard for people to follow. Build your assets first, then you can buy all the luxuries you want with the money those assets generate. All right, let's jump to number 6, the blame game. You know how this goes. When things go wrong, it's so easy to grab the magnifying glass and point it outwards. Blame the economy, blame your boss, blame the system. But the real power comes from picking up the mirror. The mirror points inward and makes you ask the only question that matters. What part of this can I control? Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that leads to real change. It's about taking radical accountability. So let's say you're doing it. You're focused on creating massive value. You're dodging all those traps. What's next? Well, the final crucial piece of the puzzle is scale. This is the engine. This is what lets you completely break that old broken link between your time and your income. And this example just shows the power of scale perfectly. You've got 2 yoga instructors. Instructor A trades her time directly for money, one-on-one sessions. She works hard, but there's a hard ceiling on what she can earn. Now look at Instructor B. She builds a scalable system, an online course. She puts in the work to build it once, and then it can generate income for her 24/7, whether she's teaching or sleeping. Same skill, same passion, but a totally different, unlimited financial outcome. That is the power of scale. And you know, all this talk about value and scale and assets, it brings us to the final and I think most important point of all. Why does any of this even matter? What's the real end game here? What's the ultimate goal we're all actually chasing? Because it turns out it was never actually about the money. It's not about getting rich just to have a huge number sitting in your bank account. That's not the point. Money is just the tool. It's not the destination. The real currency, the one we're all really dealing with, is time. It is the one single resource that you can never ever earn back. You can't buy more of it. You can't create it. And so true wealth is the freedom to control your own time. It's waking up in the morning and getting to decide for yourself exactly how you want to spend your day. So let's just quickly recap the path forward here. Remember the big one. Money equals value, not salary. Your goal is to solve problems that matter and do it at scale. You've got to actively watch out for and avoid those 7 wealth killers. Build your assets before you even think about buying luxuries. Take total radical accountability for where you are. And maybe most importantly, never ever stop pushing yourself and stepping out of your comfort zone. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to really think about. Look back at that list of the 7 invisible traps and be honest with yourself which one of those really hits home for you right now. Because just recognizing it, just admitting it to yourself, that's the absolute first step to changing it.